When I was a bit younger and I had started my, I suppose you could say, teaching career, I had a temple because I myself had a teacher for about 10 years, a Persian man, and because he kind of transformed my life, I had this temple that, and it's not something I had planned. All I knew was I enjoy philosophy and thinking. Why not just major in it, at the same time wash some cars? The idea of going to school and getting degrees wasn't really there. The idea of being in the classroom wasn't really there because temperamentally I'm shy and reserved. So most of the stuff is just accident. And so I had assumed that I will do for, once I started being in the classroom, I will do for my students what my own teacher was doing for me. You know, he housed me physically, he housed me intellectually, emotionally, and he was a support system for 10 years. And then he was a family friend for about 30 years. And then he died a couple years ago, he had cancer. And so that's a temple that I had. So I had an open door policy. I'm on the 4th floor, or I'm teaching at Sierra College or Folsom. Whenever you find me, stop by. You can stay in the office. I have food there all the time. You can come over the house. You can do A, B, C, D. Because I hadn't really studied. I didn't really understand the difference between excitement, between inspiration, between commitment, between responsibility, between being in a right space intellectually in life to be able to understand this stuff. And the fact that how long it really takes for any change to happen. I didn't understand addiction. I didn't understand habits. I didn't understand the American culture, the American psyche, that it's nearly impossible to change Americans, period. They just don't have the right software. It doesn't matter how many books you've read. It doesn't matter how inspired and excited you are. It's a nearly impossible thing to do. And if you go back in time and look at the stories in Buddhism, in Christianity, in Islam, in Judaism, and we're talking about almost 3,000 years ago, man. We didn't have technology the way today. We didn't have the dysfunctions we have today, and yet it was difficult for the sages to kind of change human beings. And these are religious people 2,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago. And yet, despite the religious narratives, it was just difficult to change them. The way they would think about themselves, about life. I mean, it's a simple thing when Muhammad came about. I mean, what exactly did Muhammad ask the Quraysh community? Don't just bury the girls alive, man. They're human beings. They have rights. And should you want to divorce a woman, you don't need to give them half, give them 1/3. Women have rights. If they want to divorce, divorce. You know, why do you have to look at another gender in such an inferior way? That's so simple. I mean, what did Malcolm X desire? I mean, these are simple, basic things, and yet when it comes to applying them, they become enormously difficult. And so that is the temple I was working with, an unexamined temple with all these items in it. If I can create trust, if I can be their friend, if I can offer them the house, if I can offer them food, my time, my youth, my energy, change will come about. No, because it is very much like dating. I mean, you can sleep around, it's easy, man. Especially now, it's really, really easy. But to sleep with someone and be committed to them and responsible for them. You know, there was a story, it was about this young woman who had been a pro dater. She would date around and she would have fun. And there came a point, and it happens to women much, much faster and much more healthier than it does for men. She came to a point where she realized that, you know, most of the men in her life have been complete losers, idiots. She is now ready to settle down, but she wants to settle down with someone who is mature. You know, it's like you've lived in downtown Oakland for a good while now. Now you want to go to Montclair. You're tired of dirt, you're tired of garbage, you're tired of just stuff. You want something that is more comfortable, more pleasing to the eye and the senses. So she says, I'm never going to date. I mean, I'm just not going to date for the next 2-3 years. I'm just going to go into the solitary cave and examine my life, review it. And it's a difficult and a devastating place to be because there's a good amount of self-hatred, a good amount of guilt, shame, because you don't have to answer to God, you don't have to answer to Jesus Christ, you don't have to answer to your parents, you answer to yourself. And that's the most difficult thing to do. You know, because you look yourself in the mirror and you see the wrinkles. You see the time being spent on ridiculous things. And you have to eventually come to accept all the wrongs you've done to yourself. And so after about 2-3 years, she sends a note to her friend. And she says, these are the things I'm looking for in a man. If any of you can find a man with these qualifications, give me a call. And so after about 4 years, her friend, gives her a call and says, there is this guy and he's very close to all the boxes that you want checked off. And so they go out on a date. Now, as they're sitting and having a conversation, what he doesn't know is that she has the list, next to her, and she's just checking off the boxes. What she doesn't know is that he also has a list. And about 2 months into this dating business, they get married. As my culture would say, if you have found someone who is 51% good and 49% dicey, you have a saint on your hand. 51% good, it's a done deal, make it work. And so they get married. 6 months into the marriage, she's not feeling well. They go to the doctor, a severe case of multiple sclerosis, MS. And I don't know if you know anything about this particular disease. Your neurons are protected by this thing called myelin sheets. They allow messages to go back and forth smoothly, quickly. When the myelin sheets get destroyed, you say, I want to walk there, but the message doesn't get to your legs very quickly. So as you take a step, there is no muscle there. You fall. And so after a few months, this woman can't walk, can't eat, can't bathe. She can't do anything. And because she has to take a lot of medication, she balloons. The man is about, 40, maybe less. She's about 30-some. And as he's giving her a bath, she looks at him and says, I am sorry for having ruined your life. If you want to leave, you can, it's okay. And he looks at her and says, you're the most beautiful woman I've seen ever in my life. Now, you can't do that if your relationship has been anchored or created on the foundation of sex or excitement or some cheesy fantasies or temple you've created in your head. You have a certain self-image. This is who I am. This is what I want. Only death can do us part. You don't find those things very often. So all of us in this class have a temple. It's unexamined. You have all these lofty ideas about who you are, what you want to do, how you want to be around people. And the truth is, when you see that temple, you haven't yet been tested, because the real test comes in the third painting, which is manhood. The waters are no longer calm. The sky is no longer clear. Everything is dark, bleak, and gloomy. If your kids are sleeping, you can claim to be very patient, a very devoted father or mother, but just wait till they wake up at 6 in the morning and they throw a temper tantrum and they mess up the house. And then you realize every 10 minutes you're screaming. Now, you may be a very devoted human being, but just wait until your wife or your husband transgresses. Well, how forgiving really are you? Not forget, but how forgiving are you? And to be able to forgive, it means you have to look at the foundation. And you have to look at the foundation as something that has a value, that you're not going to allow a certain transgression to kind of like a jackhammer demolish the foundation. You have to be very, very clever, insightful, cunning, intelligent, mature to be able to do all that stuff. And you can't do it when you're 10, you can't do it when you're 20 or 30 or 40 or 50. And in this culture, you'll probably never be able to do it. This is a quick fix culture, man. And life has no quick fix in it. Every human problem takes a long, long time to figure things out. Everything does.